This is a 2008 Chevy Malibu. It has a problem with grinding on the right rear wheel. Just doing a visual inspection, and I noticed a real shiny line dug into the rotor back in there. So I don't know, the wheel's not loose, but the tire is low. Wheel might be just a little bit. First thing I want to do, have a look at the rotor and brakes on this wheel. Just take these hubcap retainers loose. They're plastic, little plastic nuts. Hold the hubcap on. Once you get your hubcaps off, be careful of these tire pressure monitor sensors. These will break right off if you drop the tire down on them, on the face, and hit that. Then take these 5 lug nuts off. They're 19mm. So are the hubcap nuts. Okay, initial inspection. Looks like the brake pads wore out. On the outer edge. A little depression is what's left of the pad. So that's the pad grinding into the rotor. The other side looks like the inside pad on this one. Anytime you see the one pad wearing different than the other pad, there's something wrong either with these slides where they go through this, they're hung up, or the piston's stuck in a bore. Wouldn't be beyond saying an emergency brake cable could be stuck on, but I would usually encourage to wear the inside down first, since it's got a screw in there that pushes the piston to lock it down. But I'm going to disassemble this and see if there's something wrong with the slide on this hanger, or the pad can be stuck in the slides, causing it to wear all the time. If these are kind of stuck on there, you can only compress this 40 thousandths of an inch to get the caliper off, because there's a screw to emergency brakes running. If you try to compress the piston against that screw, you'll damage it. So first thing I want to do is take these 2 14mm bolts out of the caliper. Deep well will get you in both of them. I'll get the caliper off, and if the slide's stuck, I'm going to take these hanger bolts, inside 14mm, 2 inside 14mm bolts off, and deal with the hanger. You really don't want to compress this caliper at all if you don't have to. It's just a little bit, so you're allowed to compress it without screwing the piston in a clockwise direction. I don't think it'll be much trouble. Need to support that caliper. Hang your caliper by a bungee cord to keep it from hanging from the emergency brake cable and the rubber hose that supplies the brake fluid when you get it removed. Now, check the sliders and make sure they're not stuck. The slide pins. And the pads are pretty much wore down on it, I guess. I'm taking this caliper hanger off so I can clean it. This outer pad's stuck in it, so it's probably got rust behind it. I'm going to take this bottom bolt out first, and then work on the top, so this it's underneath the head of threads of a suspension member bolt. So I've got to tilt this caliper bracket and get the bolt head out from underneath it. Nice. That's probably why the pad wore out. It's stuck in the hanger. This pad's stuck in there. It'll cause excessive pad wear. You should be able to slide that through there with some resistance, but at least movable with your hands. And pop these clips off. See all the scale and rust. Pop these clips off and straighten it out behind there. That's what's causing the pads to be stuck in there, is the buildup behind that, shortening the gap between these. But the pad doesn't change, so I need to scrape the crud out of both sides. Recommended for all brake jobs, not just ones that are stuck, to check this. And just put a thin layer of grease in there to slow that rust down. Just take a screwdriver and scrape the chunks out, square the corners up, and these flat areas around the pad. The sides. And hit it with a wire brush. Then grease it. Then put your new noise suppressor, it comes with your pads, back in there. And if you don't get new shims with your new pads, scrape the old ones down to the chrome and stick them back in there. And once you got those cleaned up and they're pushed back into their holders, just drop your pad in there. Typically the warning indicator goes to the inside. It's usually the one that wears first, as long as the other hardware is working. You should be able to slide that pad up and down with just some resistance, but it should come back out. It should have some movement in it, but just more or less riding on these spring clips, noise suppressors, and sitting in the slot. If it doesn't, after you've cleaned these up, you look and see whether it's the length that's causing the trouble or the width of these ears. And if it's the width, just take a grinder and just clean it off on both sides. If it's the length, just clean it off on both ends. And then either repaint it or put a little bit of grease on the exposed metal areas. These typically don't need any grease when they're on the slides or the noise suppressors. It's the area is closed up between the noise suppressor clips and the metal, the steel. Make sure your slide pins are free to operate. I'm going to install the outer pad the same way. Check it for movement, free movement up and down through there. This outer one does pretty good. Now I clean the crap out of it. Good enough. Check the inside of your rotor for any gouges or significant damage in the outside. You really should have new rotors put on it offhand. Remember, when you put your caliper hanger on, tilt it and put your top bolt in first, at least on this one. and then your bottom one. Squeeze your pads together a little bit. These caliper hanger bolts tighten to 85 foot-pounds. The caliper mounting bolts tighten to 26 foot-pounds. The caliper piston's out. I need to turn it and push it down. And I make a spanner wrench for that, and then there's various aftermarket adapters to do that. And I'm going to just use stuff on hand instead of dragging out the other stuff. I'm going to be using a 6-inch C-clamp to push this caliper piston back down. Looking at it, be sure when it works together when you're tightening the clamp down. Make sure that this caliper piston is spinning in a clockwise direction, looking at it with the C-clamp. And if it doesn't, and it starts to get hard, take a pair of slip lock pliers and help it out as it stops turning. So your clamp gets loose, and then I got the clamp hooked on the emergency brake hold down hole. And once it gets some resistance on it, take your channel locks and give the piston a little spin. Just don't load it down too hard, you'll break something. I guess that's it. These don't seem to have a place for the cats, so you might have to use a backup wrench to hold them while you tighten this outer bolt down to 26 foot-pounds. Once you've finished installing the rear brake pads, you can pump the brake pedals several times, about 2/3 of the way down. I wouldn't recommend pushing it all the way to the floor because the master cylinder usually doesn't travel down that far, and if it's got some places in it, it'll tear the master cylinder up. That's to make sure you got brakes when you put it in gear and take off. Pedal's nice and solid. If you don't have a solid pedal, you need to find out what's wrong and not move it until you do. Once your lug nuts are torqued down to 100 foot-pounds, go ahead and install your hubcap. Got a hole in it for this tire pressure monitor to set in. Snug these caps down hand tight. If they're not busted. Once that's done, jack it up and take it off the jack stands.